The transmission cut out just as Admiral Cogs 9 finished laughing. 3 seconds of static. 3 seconds where every being on the command deck of the Dominion flagship Eternal Conquest held their breath. Then the human female's voice crackled back through the speakers, calm as deep space ice. "Did you just hang up on me?" Commander Yitzhev's mandibles clicked nervously. In 40 cycles of military service across 12 star systems, he had never witnessed such blatant disrespect toward a hegemony admiral. The humans had been offered terms, generous terms, considering their pathetic single-planet civilization had somehow stumbled into faster-than-light travel only 2 rotations ago. Surrender your military assets. Submit to hegemony oversight. Accept relocation to the mining colonies of Kepler 42b. Standard procedure for a newly discovered species that showed potential. The human had listened to the entire ultimatum without interruption. Admiral Kix-9 had been impressed by their composure right up until they responded with something that roughly translated to, "Go fertilize yourself with a plasma torch." "Now this," Admiral Yitsev ventured, "perhaps we should reconsider our intelligence reports on human psychological profiles." Korvax 9's 4 eyes swiveled independently, a sign of extreme amusement among his species. "Commander, they have exactly 17 functional warships. 17. We have brought 3,000. Their largest weapon systems can barely crack the hull plating on our escort fighters." He gestured with one of his 6 arms toward the tactical display. "This is not a war. This is pest control." The human voice continued through the commass system, apparently having a conversation with someone off-channel. "Marcus, did they seriously just hang up during surrender negotiations? That's actually kind of rude." A pause. No, I get it. Psychological warfare. Make us sweat while they position for the killing blow." Another pause. "What do you mean that's not how psychology works on humans?" "Marcus, explain that later. I need to call them back." Korvax 9's laughter filled the bridge. "They want to call us back? As if we have nothing better to do than chat with primitives about their inevitable extinction." The communications officer, a nervous Eltrani female named Kix-12, raised a tentative claw. "Admiral, should I accept the incoming transmission? By all means, let's hear what clever last words they have prepared." The main display flickered to life, revealing the interior of what appeared to be the human command vessel. The being addressing them was small by galactic standards, perhaps 1.7 meters tall, with pale skin and dark hair tied back in a functional style. She wore a simple blue uniform with minimal decorations. Behind her, other humans moved with quiet efficiency, their faces showing no signs of the panic Cax-9 had expected. "This is Admiral Sarah Mitchell of the United Earth Defense Force," the human said. "I believe we were in the middle of discussing your surrender terms." The bridge fell silent. Commander Yutsev's breathing apparatus made a sharp whistling sound. Did she just say our surrender terms?" Admiral Mitchell continued without waiting for a response. "Here's what we are prepared to offer. You have approximately 6 hours to withdraw your forces from this system. Any vessels that remain after that deadline will be considered hostile and dealt with accordingly." She glanced at something off-screen. "I'm told you have families back home, so I'm hoping you will make the smart choice here." The silence stretched for nearly 10 seconds before Admiral Cox-9 erupted into what his species considered hysterical laughter. The sound resembled a series of mechanical clicks, mixed with air being rapidly expelled through multiple breathing slots. "Oh, this is precious. Commander Yitsev, are you recording this? The archives will want a copy for the comedy section." He wiped moisture from his primary eyes. "Admiral Mitchell, I appreciate your species' commitment to, what's the human word? Optimism, but perhaps you haven't fully grasped the tactical situation." "I grasp it fine," Mitchell replied. "You have brought about 3,000 ships to our one system. Your lead vessels mount particle beam arrays that could crack a moon. Your fighters outnumber our entire fleet by a factor of roughly 100 to 1. She paused. "Tactically speaking, you should be able to annihilate us in under an hour." "Exactly." Korvax 9 spread all 6 arms wide. "Finally, someone who understands basic mathematics. So why don't we skip the posturing and move directly to your species' formal surrender? I promise the relocation camps are quite comfortable. You will have recreational facilities and everything." Mitchell's expression didn't change. "Because, Admiral, you made one critical error in your analysis. And what might that be? You assumed we'd fight you the way a civilized species would fight." The temperature on the bridge seemed to drop several degrees. Commander Yithsev found himself leaning forward despite his better judgment. "What does that mean?" Mitchell's smile was thin and sharp. "It means you have never encountered humans in actual combat before. Your intelligence reports are based on our civilian behavior, our diplomatic interactions, our trade negotiations. All very reasonable, very predictable." She gestured to someone off-screen. "Marcus, bring up the tactical display for our new friends." The transmission split screen, revealing a three-dimensional map of the solar system. Colored dots representing both fleets hung in the dark space between planets. But something was wrong with the scale. The human ships seemed to be everywhere. "Those are our 17 combat vessels," Mitchell said pleasantly. "And those other 800 contacts are our civilian ships. Cargo haulers, passenger liners, mining platforms, research vessels, orbital construction rigs. Every human ship with an engine and a hull." Admiral Sext-9's laughter died in his throat. "Civilians don't participate in military conflicts. That violates every civilized rule of engagement." "Exactly. Civilized." Mitchell's smile grew wider. "We have loaded every one of those civilian ships with explosives, nuclear devices, antimatter charges, even some old-fashioned chemical bombs. Each ship has a volunteer crew of exactly one person. They are currently burning toward your fleet at maximum acceleration." The tactical display updated, showing projected intercept courses. 800 kamikaze ships, spreading out like a deadly flower blooming across space, even with their inferior engines. They would reach the Hegemony fleet within hours. "This is barbaric," Commander Yithsev snarled. "No species has used suicide attacks since the Zalarian War Crimes Tribunals established the Galactic rules of engagement." "We never signed those treaties," Mitchell pointed out. "Mostly because we didn't know they existed until about 20 minutes ago when your admiral was kind enough to mention them." She glanced at her display. "Marcus, how many volunteers did we get for the suicide runs?" A male voice answered from off-screen. "About 3,000 so far, Admiral. We had to turn people away." 3,000. Mitchell returned her attention to the Hegemony officers. "And that's just the volunteers for the first wave. Apparently news of your ultimatum has been poorly received by the general population." Admiral Kyox-9's skin had shifted from its normal blue-green to a sickly yellow color. "You can't be serious. No species would sacrifice civilians in such numbers." "Admiral, let me explain something about human psychology." Mitchell's voice remained conversational, but her eyes had gone completely cold. "We are a pack-bonding species. That means when you threaten one of us, you threaten all of us. And when someone threatens the pack," she shrugged, "well, we become something else entirely." The communications officer Kix-12 made a strangled sound. "Admiral Kix-9, our long-range sensors are detecting massive energy signatures throughout their system. They are not just weaponizing civilian ships, they are weaponizing everything." The tactical display updated again. Space stations were changing course, their massive bulk beginning to move toward the Hegemony fleet. Mining platforms were ejecting their cargo containers, filling space with clouds of metallic debris traveling at significant fractions of light speed. Even the humans' orbital garbage disposal systems were being repurposed into kinetic weapons. "Every piece of space-based infrastructure they have is now a weapon," Mitchell confirmed. 17 warships, 800 civilian vessels packed with explosives, 43 space stations, 112 mining and industrial platforms, and approximately 4 million tons of random debris, all carefully targeted to arrive at your fleet's position within the next 6 hours. Commander Yithsev's breathing apparatus was making rapid, panicked sounds. "This is insane. The collateral damage alone would render their system uninhabitable for cycles." "Which brings us to the really fun part," Mitchell said. "We have also rigged our sun." The bridge erupted in chaos. Officers shouted over each other, demanding clarification, checking sensor readings. arguing about the technical impossibility of stellar manipulation. Admiral Kex-9 sat in stunned silence as the humans calmly explained their plan to trigger a controlled solar flare large enough to sterilize everything within 12 astronomical units. "It's really quite elegant," the human female continued. "We drop a series of specially designed probes into the corona, each one programmed to detonate at precisely calculated intervals. The resulting magnetic cascade should produce a flare roughly 15 times larger than anything in recorded galactic history." She paused thoughtfully. "Of course, it will kill every living thing in the system, including us. But hey, that's the price of freedom." The transmission began to break up with static. Whether from the humans' preparations or the Hegemony crew's increasing panic was unclear. Mitchell's voice crackled through the interference. "So Admiral Cox-9, let me restate our offer. You have 6 hours to withdraw your forces from this system. If you are still here when the timer runs out, we guarantee that nobody gets to go home. Not you, not us, not anybody." The static cleared momentarily, revealing her face once more. "Personally, I recommend you take the deal. Your families are probably wondering when you will be back for dinner." The transmission cut out. Admiral Kex-9 stared at the blank screen for nearly a minute before speaking. "Options." Commander Yithsev consulted his tactical displays with shaking claws. "Sir, even if only half of their claimed capabilities are genuine, we are looking at casualties in excess of 60%. And if they can actually trigger that solar flare," he trailed off. "Sir," Tix-12 interrupted, "we are receiving similar transmissions from 17 other human vessels. They are all saying the same thing. 6 hours. No exceptions. And sir," she looked up from her console with wide, frightened eyes, "our deep space monitors are detecting unusual stellar activity. Something is definitely happening to their star." The Admiral's 4 eyes focused independently on different displays, trying to process the impossible situation. 40 cycles of military service, campaigns against the warrior clans of Draxon VII, the siege of the Centauri resistance, the brutal suppression of the android uprising in the Vega system. He had seen every form of warfare the galaxy had to offer. But this was something new, something unprecedented, something that violated every rule of civilized conflict and tactical doctrine he had ever studied. "Sir?" Commander Yithsev's voice was barely above a whisper. "Orders?" Admiral Cox-9 closed all 4 eyes and tried to remember if the Hegemony's insurance policies covered losses due to suicidal enemy species with stellar manipulation capabilities. Somehow he doubted it. The countdown timer on every screen read 5 hours, 47 minutes and 32 seconds. And dropped. The humans, it seemed, were not bluffing. 5 hours and 12 minutes remaining. Admiral Kex-9 had called an emergency war council, summoning every ship captain, tactical analyst, and xenobiologist in the fleet. The massive conference room aboard the Eternal Conquest buzzed with nervous energy as 300 of the Hegemony's finest military minds tried to solve an impossible problem. Captain Dex 4 of the heavy cruiser Iron Resolve was the first to break the stunned silence. "Admiral, with respect, they have to be bluffing about the stellar manipulation. No species achieves faster-than-light travel and star-killing technology simultaneously. It's physically impossible." "Impossible? How?" Dr. Zil Prime, the fleet's chief xenobiologist, clicked her mandibles skeptically. "We have been monitoring their transmissions for 6 rotations. These humans went from chemical rockets to antimatter engines in less than 50 years. They don't follow normal technological development patterns." Commander Yithsev pulled up holographic displays showing human space infrastructure. "The real problem isn't their star, it's everything else. Look at these numbers." Red indicators bloomed across the tactical map like a spreading infection. 837 incoming projectiles, each with enough explosive yield to cripple a dreadnought. Even if we intercept 90% of them, the remaining attacks would destroy half our fleet. Captain Nex 7 of the battle carrier Void Hunter slammed a clawed fist onto the conference table. "Then we glass their planet before they can launch. Full orbital bombardment. Every ship firing simultaneously. Turn their homeworld into molten slag in the first 30 minutes. And accomplish what exactly? Dr. Zilla Prime's voice dripped with contempt. Captain, those suicide ships are already en route. Destroying Earth won't recall them. It will just guarantee they detonate everything they have, including whatever mechanism controls their star. The room erupted into arguments, each officer shouting over the others. Some demanded immediate retreat. Others called for a preemptive strike. A few suggested negotiation, though they couldn't explain what the hegemony could possibly offer a species that seemed perfectly willing to commit universal suicide. Admiral Quack 9 let them argue for exactly 3 minutes before triggering the sonic dampening field. Instant silence fell across the room as every voice was suddenly muffled to a whisper. Enough. Afi stood slowly, his 6 arms spread wide for emphasis. We are the Hegemony Stellar Navy. We have conquered 43 star systems. We have defeated warrior races, hive minds, artificial intelligences, and energy beings. We do not retreat from a single planet populated by primitive bipeds. Captain Dex 4 raised a tentative claw. Admiral, what if they are not primitive? The dampening field flickered off. Explain. Sir, I have been reviewing their tactical responses. The timing is too perfect. They knew exactly how to position their forces for maximum psychological impact. They understood our fleet composition before we entered the system. And that stellar manipulation threat. He paused, consulting his datapad. Sir, it's specifically designed to target our species' deepest fear. Which is? Dying far from home, sir. Without proper burial rites. Our culture considers it the ultimate dishonor. Captain Dex 4's voice grew quieter. They researched us. Admiral, they know exactly how to break our morale. Dr. Zeal Prime nodded slowly. It would explain the civilian ship strategy too. Most species prioritize military targets, but humans are specifically trying to maximize our casualties per engagement. They want this to hurt. Commander Yitsev pulled up a new display showing human population centers. There's something else. Our initial scans detected approximately 8 billion humans on their homeworld. Current readings show less than 2 billion. The conference room fell silent. Where did they go? Admiral Cox 9's voice was barely above a whisper. Unknown, sir, but I have a theory. Yitsev highlighted several locations on the planet's surface. These are their major transportation hubs, all showing massive recent activity. I think they evacuated most of their population. To where? The outer planets, sir. Gas giant moons, asteroid colonies, deep space habitats. Places we wouldn't bother to scan because they are not strategically relevant. He paused. Sir, what if this isn't their last stand? What if it's just the opening move? The implications hit everyone simultaneously. If the humans had secretly evacuated their population to hidden colonies throughout the system, then Earth's destruction wouldn't end the war. It would just make the survivors even more dangerous. Captain Nex 7's voice cracked slightly. How many colonies could they have established? With their technology? Hundreds. Maybe thousands. Dr. Zil Prime pulled up planetary survey data. This system has over 200 major celestial bodies. If even 10% are inhabited, then we'd need to occupy the entire system for cycles just to root them out, Admiral Cox 9 finished grimly. And they'd be shooting at us the entire time. The tactical displays updated with new information from the fleet's long-range sensors. What had initially appeared to be random debris fields were revealing organized patterns. Weapons platforms, hidden bases, supply caches. The humans had turned their entire star system into a fortress, and they were still accelerating toward mutual destruction. Commander Yithsev's breathing apparatus was making rapid, panicked sounds again. Admiral, incoming transmission from the human flagship. Put them through. Admiral Mitchell's face appeared on the main display, but something had changed. The composed military officer from earlier was gone, replaced by someone who looked like she hadn't slept in days. Her uniform was wrinkled, her hair disheveled, and her eyes held a wild intensity that made several Hegemony officers step backward instinctively.
Admiral Quex 9.
Good to see you again. How's the War Council going? Her smile was bright and completely terrifying. I hope you are making progress because we have had some exciting developments on our end. What kind of developments? Well, remember those 3,000 volunteers I mentioned? Turns out that was just the first batch. We are now up to about 12,000 people willing to pilot suicide ships. She gestured off-screen. Marcus, show them the updated tactical display. The screen split, revealing a three-dimensional map that made every Hegemony officer in the room make involuntary sounds of distress. The original 800 civilian ships had grown to over 2,000, and they weren't just coming from Earth anymore. Surprise! Turns out we have colonies throughout this system that your scouts somehow missed. Mars has contributed about 400 ships. The belt miners are sending everything with an engine. Even the research stations around Jupiter are pitching in. Mitchell's voice remained cheerfully conversational. Oh, and the really good news? We have figured out how to weaponize our garbage. Your garbage? Space debris, industrial waste, sewage processing plants, decommissioned satellites. Basically anything we can strap an engine to and point in your direction. She checked something off-screen. Current count is approximately 6,000 individual projectiles, each one programmed to explode at optimal range for maximum shrapnel dispersal. Captain Dex-4 made a choking sound. That's not warfare. That's insane? Mitchell nodded agreeably. Yeah, we get that a lot. But here's the thing about humans, Captain. When someone threatens our home, our families, our way of life, her expression shifted, becoming something cold and predatory. We stop being rational. We stop following rules. We become something much, much worse. The transmission began incorporating multiple feeds from across the human fleet. Faces appeared on subsidiary screens, each one showing the same disturbing combination of determination and barely controlled fury. A grizzled man with scars across his face spoke first. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the mining ship Lucky Strike, used to haul asteroid ore between Jupiter and Mars. Now I'm hauling 20 tons of nuclear explosives straight into your formation. He grinned, showing missing teeth. Haven't been this excited since the war. What war? Commander Yuthseb asked weakly. A younger woman answered from another screen. The Third Global War, Commander. 40 million dead in 18 months. We humans, we are really, really good at killing each other. Her smile was razor sharp. You should see what we do to outsiders. More faces appeared. Ship captains, cargo haulers, research scientists, retired military personnel, all volunteers. All heading toward the Hegemony fleet at maximum burn. Admiral Mitchell's voice cut through the chaos. The beautiful thing about humans, Admiral Cux-9, is that we are not just pack bonding. We are also persistence hunters. Do you know what that means? Admiral Cux-9 found his voice. Explain. It means we don't give up, ever. We will chase prey across continents until it collapses from exhaustion. We will hunt something for days, weeks, years if necessary. We are literally designed by evolution to never stop coming. Her eyes glittered with something that might have been madness. So here's what's going to happen. Even if you retreat right now, even if you leave this system and never come back, we are going to hunt you down. That's impossible. You don't have faster-than-light capability. We will. The certainty in her voice was absolute. We will reverse engineer your ships, steal your technology, bribe or torture the information out of prisoners. However long it takes, and then we will find every hegemony world, every hegemony outpost, every place your species has ever lived. She leaned forward, and we will make you extinct. The conference room had gone completely silent. 300 of the galaxy's most experienced military officers sat in stunned horror as a single human female calmly described their species' complete annihilation. Of course, Mitchell continued, there is still the easy option. You have, she glanced at her chronometer, 4 hours and 18 minutes to withdraw from this system. After that, well, she shrugged. Solar flare goes off, everyone dies, and your families back home get to wonder why you never came back. Captain Nex-7 found his voice. You are bluffing about the star. It's physically impossible. Marcus, bring up the stellar monitors. The displays switched to real-time imagery of the human star. Even to hegemony sensors. The changes were obvious. Massive coronal loops were building along the star's surface. Magnetic field fluctuations were increasing exponentially. Something was definitely happening. We have been dropping probe packages into the corona for the last 6 hours, Mitchell explained casually. Each one is programmed to detonate at specific coordinates, creating a cascade resonance effect that should, she gestured vaguely, while the technical term is catastrophic stellar destabilization, but I like to call it the biggest explosion in this part of the galaxy. Dr. Zill Prime was frantically consulting her instruments. Admiral, our deep space sensors are confirming massive energy buildup in their star. If they can actually trigger a controlled flare of that magnitude, everyone dies, Admiral Clix-9 finished quietly. Everyone dies, Mitchell agreed cheerfully. But hey, at least we will go out together, right? Really builds team spirit. The transmission cut out, leaving the Hegemony War Council staring at blank screens and contemplating their own mortality. 4 hours and 17 minutes remaining. Admiral Cocax-9 looked around the conference room at 300 of the most capable military minds in the galaxy. Every single one of them looked like they were about to be sick. Options? He asked quietly. Captain Rexate of the stealth destroyer Silent Death cleared his throat nervously. Admiral, what if we call their bluff? Force them to prove they can actually detonate their star. And if they are not bluffing? Dr. Zill Prime's voice was sharp with panic. Captain, we are talking about the complete obliteration of this fleet. 40,000 crew members. The largest military force the Hegemony has assembled in 2 centuries. Better than letting one primitive planet dictate terms to the entire galactic order, Rexate shot back. If we retreat now, every backwater species in the galaxy will think they can threaten the Hegemony with suicide attacks. Commander Yuth Sev pulled up new sensor data. There's another problem. Our communications array is detecting massive data transmissions leaving this system. The humans are broadcasting everything. What do you mean, everything? This entire conflict, sir. Real-time tactical data casualty projections. Even recordings of our conversations with Admiral Mitchell. It's all being transmitted to at least 47 different star systems. Yuth Sev's mandibles clicked rapidly. Sir, the entire galaxy is watching us. The implications struck everyone simultaneously. If the Hegemony retreated, word would spread to every species under their control. The carefully maintained illusion of invincibility would crumble overnight. Rebellions would spark across 100 worlds, but if they stayed and died, the result would be even worse. Admiral Cux-9 activated his personal communicator. Get me high command. Priority Alpha encryption. The main display flickered to life, revealing the imposing figure of Supreme Admiral Cole Prime speaking from the Hegemony capital ship 300 light-years away. His ancient face was carved from living stone, weathered by 5 centuries of conquest and expansion. Admiral KX-9, I have been monitoring your situation. The status report. Supreme Admiral, we have encountered an unprecedented tactical scenario. The human species has demonstrated capabilities far beyond our initial assessments. They are threatening mutual annihilation unless we withdraw from their system. Cole Prime's expression didn't change. Elaborate. Sir, they have weaponized their entire civilization. Every ship, every space station, every piece of orbital debris. Current projections show fleet casualties in excess of 70% even if we achieve complete tactical victory. Corvax-9 paused. And sir, they claim to have rigged their star to explode. Impossible. Our stellar monitors confirm massive energy buildup. Supreme Admiral, something is definitely destabilizing their sun. The ancient leader was quiet for nearly a minute, his weathered features revealing nothing. Finally, he spoke. Admiral, in 500 years of service to the Hegemony, I have faced warrior clans who fought to the last breath, hive minds that consumed entire worlds, and artificial intelligences that turned planets into weapons. But I have never encountered a species willing to commit universal suicide rather than submit to superior force. Nor have I, sir. Tell me about their psychology. Dr. Zill Prime stepped forward. Supreme Admiral, humans display extreme pack-bonding behavior combined with persistence hunting instincts. They form emotional attachments to abstract concepts like freedom and independence that override basic survival instincts. When threatened, they don't calculate odds or consider rational alternatives. They simply attack with everything available. in their threat to hunt us down if we retreat? Entirely credible, sir. Human history shows they will pursue enemies across continents and decades if necessary. If they achieve faster-than-light capability, they will become a galactic threat, Cole Prime finished quietly. The connection crackled with static as the Supreme Admiral consulted with his own advisors. When he returned, his expression had hardened into something resembling granite. Admiral Kix-9, you have new orders. Yes, sir. Withdraw immediately. Full retreat. Every ship. The conference room erupted. Officers shouted protests, demanding explanations, questioning the Supreme Admiral's sanity. Captain Next 7 was loudest of all. Sir, we can't retreat. The entire galaxy is watching. If we run from one primitive planet, Captain, Cole Prime's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. Let me explain something about warfare that you apparently failed to learn in your 2 decades of service. Victory is not about destroying your enemy. Victory is about achieving your strategic objectives while preserving your forces for future conflicts. The room fell silent. Our objective was to incorporate human space into the hegemony. That objective is no longer achievable at an acceptable cost. Therefore, we withdraw and reassess. His ancient eyes focused directly on the camera. Admiral Kix-9, you will return to base immediately. We will monitor human technological development and determine appropriate countermeasures. Sir, what about the political ramifications? Other species will see this as weakness. Other species will see this as intelligence. The hegemony survives because we know when to fight and when to wait. Corpram's smile was thin and sharp. Besides, Admiral, who's going to spread stories about our retreat? The question hung in the air for several seconds before Commander Yithsev realized the implication. Sir, you mean we are going to classify this entire incident? Maximum security clearance. As far as the galaxy knows, we encountered a system-wide technological malfunction during routine exploration. No combat occurred. No retreat was necessary. The Supreme Admiral's expression was carved from stone. The humans get to keep their independence. We get to keep our reputation intact. Everyone wins. Captain Rex 8 sputtered with indignation. But sir, that's smart, Dr. Zill Prime interrupted. It's tactically sound. We avoid massive casualties, maintain strategic flexibility, and prevent other species from learning that suicide attacks can deter hegemony expansion. Admiral Kix-9 activated the fleet-wide communication system. All ships, this is Admiral Kix-9, prepare for immediate withdrawal. Set course for hegemony space, maximum burn. We are leaving this system. The response was immediate chaos on every ship's bridge. Thousands of officers demanding explanations, questioning orders, trying to understand how the most powerful fleet in galactic history was retreating from 17 primitive warships. But orders were orders. One by one, the hegemony vessels began altering course. 3,000 ships, each one a monument to military engineering and tactical superiority, turning away from Earth and accelerating toward the edge of the solar system. The human transmission came through almost immediately. Admiral Kix-9, this is Admiral Mitchell. Our sensors show your fleet changing course. I hope this means you have decided to accept our generous offer. Admiral Mitchell, the hegemony fleet is withdrawing from your system. Consider your terms accepted. Outstanding. I have to say, Admiral, you made the smart choice. Nobody wants to explain to their families why they didn't come home over a political disagreement. Mitchell's voice was bright with relief. Oh, and Admiral, yes? Safe travels. We will be watching your departure on long-range sensors, just to make sure everyone makes it out safely. The threat was implicit but clear. The humans would monitor the hegemony withdrawal to ensure no ships remained behind for surprise attacks. Admiral Kix-9 looked around the conference room one final time. 300 of the galaxy's finest military officers sat in stunned silence, trying to process their first strategic retreat in over a century. Lessons learned, he asked quietly. Captain Dex-4 was the first to respond. Never underestimate a species that values abstract concepts over survival. Intelligence gathering is more important than firepower, added Commander Yithsev. Dr. Zill Prime nodded slowly. And perhaps most importantly, some victories aren't worth the cost. 3 hours and 42 minutes remaining on the human countdown timer. But the Hegemony fleet was already accelerating toward the outer edge of the solar system, leaving behind the first species in galactic history to successfully threaten the mighty Hegemony into retreat. In the distance, the human star continued its ominous energy buildup, as if Earth itself was holding its breath until the last alien ship crossed the system boundary. Admiral Cogs 9 settled back into his command chair and began composing his official report. Somehow he doubted High Command would believe a single word of it, but that was tomorrow's problem. Tonight, he was just grateful to be going home alive. 18 months later, Commander Yithsev stood in the maximum security briefing room aboard Hegemony Intelligence Station Omega-7, staring at a holographic display that made his breathing apparatus wheeze with anxiety. The classified report floating before him was stamped with warnings in 17 different languages, but the contents were far more terrifying than any security classification. "Tell me this is a sensor malfunction," Admiral Cogs 9 said quietly. "I wish I could, sir." Intelligence analyst Pix-15 manipulated the display with trembling claws. "But we have confirmed these readings through 43 independent monitoring stations. The humans have achieved faster-than-light capability." The hologram showed a sleek vessel emerging from what appeared to be a controlled wormhole roughly 12 light-years from Earth. The ship's design was unlike anything in galactic databases, combining human engineering with technologies that shouldn't have been possible for their developmental level. How? Admiral Cogs 9's 4 eyes focused independently on different aspects of the display. "Our Xenot technology experts estimated they wouldn't develop FTL for at least 2 centuries. Dr. Zil Prime activated a secondary display showing intercepted human communications. Admiral, they didn't develop it. They stole it." The communications log revealed a series of raids on Hegemony research facilities, cargo convoys, and isolated outposts. Each attack had been dismissed as piracy or random violence, but the pattern was now obvious. The humans had been systematically acquiring advanced technology samples, persistent hunters, Yithsev muttered. "Just like Admiral Mitchell warned us." "It gets worse," Pix-15 continued. "The ship we detected isn't their first FTL vessel. Our deep space monitors have recorded at least 47 different human ships in systems throughout this sector. They have been operational for months." Admiral Cogs 9 felt his skin shifting to the sickly yellow color that indicated extreme stress. "Months? And we are just learning about this now?" "Sir, they have been very careful to avoid direct confrontation. Hit-and-run attacks, intelligence gathering, technology theft. It's classic reconnaissance behavior." Dr. Zil Prime pulled up additional files. "But Admiral, there's something else. Something much worse. Worse than humans loose in the galaxy with stolen FTL technology." "Sir, they are recruiting." The main display switched to intercepted communications from a dozen different star systems. Human voices speaking in halting translations of local languages, making contact with rebellious factions, oppressed species, and independent colonies. The message was always the same: join us, fight the Hegemony, win your freedom. They are building an alliance, Yithsev realized. A coalition of every species that has grievances against the Hegemony. Not just building, Commander. They have already succeeded. Pix-15 activated a galactic map showing confirmed human operations. The Draconian Liberation Front has pledged 12 battle cruisers. The Centauri Resistance is contributing stealth ships and intelligence networks. Even the pacifist Andromedan Council has agreed to provide logistical support. Admiral Cogs 9 stared at the spreading network of red indicators marking confirmed or suspected human allies. Nearly 100 different species, scattered across 40 star systems, all united by a single common goal: the destruction of the Hegemony. "They are using our own success against us," he said quietly. "Every species we have conquered, every world we have occupied, every culture we have suppressed, they have all been waiting for someone to show them how to fight back. And the humans showed them that suicide attacks work," Dr. Zil Prime added grimly. "Admiral, we are receiving reports of kamikaze ships throughout the outer territories. Cargo haulers packed with explosives, civilian vessels rigged to detonate, even converted passenger liners turned into weapons. The humans have taught the entire galaxy their tactics. The briefing room fell silent except for the soft hum of environmental systems. 3 of the Hegemony's most experienced officers contemplated the nightmare scenario they had helped create by retreating from Earth. Casualty reports. Admiral Cax-9 asked finally. 17 outposts destroyed. 9 patrol fleets decimated. The mining operation at Kepler 438b was completely wiped out by a single human ship that detonated itself in the middle of our formation. Pix-15's voice was barely above a whisper. Total losses so far exceed 30,000 personnel. And it's accelerating, Yevsev added. Each attack is more coordinated than the last. They are learning from their successes, adapting their tactics, incorporating new technologies stolen from our own ships. Admiral Cax-9 activated his secure communicator. Get me Supreme Admiral Coltra. Emergency priority. The transmission took several minutes to establish, routing through multiple encryption layers and relay stations. When the ancient leader's face finally appeared on the display, his expression was carved from granite. Admiral, I assume you are reporting on the human situation. Yes, sir. Supreme Admiral, they have exceeded every projection we made about their development timeline. They have FTL capability. They are recruiting allies throughout the galaxy, and they are using our own tactics against us with devastating effectiveness. I'm aware. Cole Prime's voice was carefully neutral. The question is, what do you recommend we do about it? Sir, with respect, we need to launch a preemptive strike against Earth. A full-scale assault using our entire reserve fleet. Hit them before they can organize their coalition into a unified threat, and repeat our previous mistake on a larger scale? The Supreme Admiral's laugh was dry and bitter. Admiral, what makes you think a larger force would succeed where 3,000 ships failed? Sir, we wouldn't give them time to prepare their suicide attacks. We'd arrive, blast the planet from maximum range, and withdraw before they could respond. Assuming they haven't spread their population to hidden colonies throughout their system. Assuming they haven't rigged multiple stars to explode. Assuming they haven't prepared countermeasures we haven't thought of. Cole Prime shook his head slowly. Admiral, you are thinking like a conventional military officer facing a conventional enemy. But humans aren't conventional. Dr. Zill Prime stepped forward. Supreme Admiral, what if we attempted negotiation? Offered them territorial concessions in exchange for ceasing their recruitment activities. What could we possibly offer them that they can't take by force? Cold Prime's ancient eyes were sharp with intelligence. They have already demonstrated that they can steal our technology, defeat our fleets, and turn our own subjects against us. Why would they negotiate when Conquest is working so well? The question hung in the air unanswered. Commander Yevsev consulted his tactical displays. Supreme Admiral, our intelligence suggests the human coalition is planning something major. Mass communications between allied species have increased dramatically in the last month. Ship movements are accelerating. They are building towards some kind of coordinated offensive. Timeline? Unknown, sir. But based on their previous operational tempo, we estimate no more than 6 months before they are ready to launch whatever they are planning. Supreme Admiral Cold Prime was quiet for nearly 2 minutes, his weathered features revealing the weight of 5 centuries of command decisions. When he finally spoke, his voice carried the authority of absolute conviction. Gentlemen, I'm going to share something with you that is classified at the highest possible level. The Hegemony Council has been monitoring human activities since their first FTL flight. We know about their recruitment efforts. We know about their technological acquisition, and we know about their long-term strategic objectives, which are total war, complete conquest, the absolute destruction of hegemony authority throughout the galaxy. Cold Prime's smile was thin and sharp. The humans aren't just building a rebellion, Admiral. They are building an empire, and they intend to rule every world we currently control. The implications struck all 3 officers simultaneously. The humans weren't fighting for independence or freedom or any abstract principle. They were fighting for dominance, for the right to replace the hegemony as the galaxy's supreme authority. Supreme Admiral, Admiral Cax-9 said carefully. What are your orders? Begin immediate withdrawal from all outer territory holdings. Concentrate our forces in the core systems. Prepare for a defensive war unlike anything the hegemony has ever faced. Colt Prime's expression was grim. And pray that our ancestors forgive us for what we are about to unleash upon the galaxy. The transmission cut out, leaving the three officers staring at blank screens and contemplating the end of everything they had known. 18 months ago, they had faced 17 human warships and chosen retreat over mutual destruction. Now they faced an entire galactic coalition united by human leadership and human tactics. Outside the station's massive viewport, space looked exactly the same as it always had. Stars burning in the infinite dark, planets spinning in their orbits. The universe continuing its ancient dance of matter and energy. But Admiral Korvax 9 knew better. Somewhere in that peaceful darkness, thousands of ships were moving. Millions of beings were preparing for war, and at the center of it all, a single species that had chosen extinction over submission was now choosing conquest over coexistence. The humans had kept their promise. They had never stopped coming. Commander Yith Sev activated the station's emergency beacon, broadcasting a coded signal that would be received by every Hegemony facility in the galaxy. The message was simple, transmitted in the ancient military codes that had been used for centuries of conquest and expansion. Condition read: total war. All forces return to base immediately. For the first time in galactic history, the Hegemony was in full retreat, and in the distance, carried by subspace communications too advanced for even Hegemony technology to intercept, a familiar human voice was speaking to allies across 100 different worlds. This is Admiral Sarah Mitchell of the Terran Coalition. Phase 1 is complete. All Allied forces, prepare for Phase 2. Operation Galaxy's End commences in 72 hours. The countdown had begun. Again, but this time, the humans weren't threatening to destroy themselves. They were threatening to destroy everyone else. And based on everything the Hegemony had learned about human psychology, they weren't bluffing. The galaxy was about to discover what happened when a species that evolved as persistence hunters decided to hunt something bigger than themselves. Something much, much bigger. The war for galactic supremacy had begun. And humanity was winning.